Hello, welcome to Adventures with Scripture. I'm Carolyn. I hope you are having a wonderful day. I'm super excited. The last couple of weeks we've had beautiful weather and I've been able to get out on my bicycle a lot more. So eventually I will be taking my bike and heading down to different parks and doing some Bible studies in different locations. And I can't wait to join you guys there as well. So, I guess I should get this started. We are going to be reading Daniel chapter 3 today. And this one is going to be very inspirational and shows how tough things can be and how to stand in faith no matter what challenges lie ahead. King Nebuchadnezzar made a golden statue 90 feet tall and 9 feet wide and set up on the plain of Dura in the province of Babylon. Then he sent this message to his high officers, officials, governors, advisors, treasurers, judges, magistrates, and all the provincial officers to come to the dedication of the statue he had set up. All of these officials came and stood before the statue King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. Then a herald shouted out, "People of all races and nations and languages, listen to the king's command. When you hear the sound of the horn, flute, zither, lyre, harp, pipes, and other musical instruments, bow to the ground and worship King Nebuchadnezzar's gold statue. Everyone who refuses to obey will immediately be thrown into a blazing furnace." At the sound of the musical instruments, all the people, whatever their race, nation, or language, bowed to the ground and worshipped the statue that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. But some of the astrologers went to the king and informed him on the Jews. They said to King Nebuchadnezzar, "Long live the king. You issued a decree requiring all people to bow down and worship the gold statue. And when they hear the sound of the horn, the flute, the zither, the lyre, harp, pipes, and other musical instruments." That decree also states that those who refuse to obey must be thrown into the blazing furnace. But there are 3 Jews, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, whom you have put in charge of the province of Babylon. They pay no attention to you, your majesty. They refuse to serve your gods and do not worship the gold statue you have set up. Then King Nebuchadnezzar flew into a rage and ordered that Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego be brought before him. When they were brought in, Nebuchadnezzar said to them, "Is this true, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that you refuse to serve my gods or worship the gold statue I have set up? I will give you one more chance to bow down and worship the statue I have made when you hear the sound of the musical instruments. But if you refuse, you will be thrown immediately into the blazing furnace. And then what God will be able to rescue you from my power?" Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego replied, "O Nebuchadnezzar, We do not need to defend ourselves before you. If we are thrown into the blazing furnace, the God whom we serve will be able to save us. He will rescue us from your power, your majesty. But if he doesn't, we want to make it clear to you, your majesty, that we will never serve your gods or worship your gold statue you have set up. Nebuchadnezzar was furious with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Then his face became distorted with rage. He commanded that the furnace be heated up 7 times hotter than usual. Then he ordered some of his strongest men of his army to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and throw them into the blazing furnace. So they tied them up and threw them into the furnace, fully dressed in their pants, turbans, robes, and other garments. And because the king, in his anger, had demanded such a hot fire in the furnace, the flames killed the soldiers that threw the 3 men in. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, securely tied, fell into the roaring flames. But suddenly Nebuchadnezzar jumped up in amazement and exclaimed to his advisors, "Didn't we tie up 3 men and throw them into the furnace?" "Yes, your majesty, we certainly did," they replied. "Look," Nebuchadnezzar shouted, "I see 4 men unbound walking around in the flames unharmed, and the 4th looks like a god." Then Nebuchadnezzar came as close as he could to the door of the flaming furnace and shouted, "Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, servants of the Most High God, come out, come here." So Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego stepped out of the fire. Then the high officers, officials, governors, and advisors crowded around them and saw that the fire had not touched them. Not a hair on their head was singed, and their clothing was not scorched. They didn't even smell of smoke. Then Nebuchadnezzar said, "Praise the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. He sent his angel to rescue his servants who trusted in him. They defied the king's command and were willing to die rather than serve or worship any god except their own God. Therefore, I make this decree. If any people, whatever their race or nation or language, speak a word against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they will be torn limb for limb, and their houses will be turned into heaps of rubble. There is no other God who can rescue like this." Then the king promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego to even higher positions in the province of Babylon. So that to me that shows how much faith we need to have. We need to put all of our trust into God. Just reading that, it really brings so much emotion out for me. And so just in the first 6 chapters, there was so much going on. Nebuchadnezzar, he has this golden statue made, and he demands. It's not even that he expects, he demands and wants everybody to bow down and worship this gold statue. And what would happen if they refuse? They'd be thrown into that furnace. Can you imagine? It's insane. They'd just be immediately tossed in and cooked. And then you have the astrologers that they go run into the king and tell him about the 3 Jews that refused to bow down and worship the statue. And since they are in charge of the providence of Babylon, that looks even worse for Nebuchadnezzar, because he put them in charge, and that they're not going to listen to his decree. So of course he's going to be even more angry. And then Nebuchadnezzar, he flew into that rage, and this would be between verses 13 through 18. He goes into such a rage, demanding that they be brought to him. And what does he do? He gives them a chance to bow down to the statue, but they're not going to do it, because they know who the one true God is. And there's no point in worshiping something, whether it be a book or a stuffed animal or a chunk of gold or whatever somebody puts their faith in, a rock. I mean, that rock's not going to save you. That stuffed animal's not going to save you. It may give you help when you cuddle it, may calm you a little, but it's not going to save you. Only God can truly save you if you put your love and trust directly to him. So when they refuse, then he is screaming he's going to immediately put them into a burning furnace. And then what happens? Nebuchadnezzar challenges their God. And Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, them stating that they are not going to defend themselves. And why? Why should they have to defend themselves? God knows what's going on, and God will defend them in his own way at his own time. So they still refuse to bow down and worship something that isn't real. So this infuriates Nebuchadnezzar to the point that his face is distorted with rage. Have you ever been in a situation, I don't know whether it would be a spouse maybe, or somebody that you thought was a friend, or maybe even a family member, somebody in your life that there's something so heated going on, and you can actually see their face distort with so much anger. It's almost like watching a demon come out. Can you imagine what that would possibly look like, or ever been in a situation where you've seen someone's face change? I have, and it's very unnerving. And the moment I seen that, I knew I could never have that person in my life again, because I seen just so much twisted hatred that it was unnerving. It didn't scare me or frighten me or whatever words you want to use. It put me almost as if I was standing face to face with a demon. So I could imagine. They stood firm though, because they know that they would be protected by God. So when Nebuchadnezzar is so angry, he demands that the furnace be even hotter than usual. And it is so hot that the soldiers that are to throw Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego into the furnace, they actually die. That's how hot it is. So I can't even imagine. I probably should have looked up like certain heats and what it would take. But it sure surprised Nebuchadnezzar to see them walking around in there, especially if he watched his soldiers die just standing on the outside, and he can only get so close without him sustaining serious injury. But to see 4 people walking around in there, knowing only 3 went in. And then, of course, Nebuchadnezzar realizes the true power of God. It's beyond a dream or somebody being able to interpret the dream and tell him about the dream. That's obviously from Daniel chapter 2. But he's really now seeing God at work. And at least he understands that God's power is beyond anything anyone can match in this world. And so he steps forward and demands that if anyone talks bad about the God that Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego worship, that they will be immediately torn limb for limb, and their homes would be turned into heaps of rubble. And each of them were even given a higher position in the providence of Babylon. That's pretty exciting. I've actually read chapters 4 and 5, and I'm probably going to try to put 2 more out this week, because the book of Daniel isn't obviously as long as, okay, so it's 12 chapters. It's not as long as when we were working through the book of Revelation. So as usual, I do enjoy putting out different themes that kind of go along with the structure of each chapter. Stay strong in your commitment to God. That's the first theme. No matter what, stay strong. Never deny God for anyone or anything under any circumstance. Don't deny him. Don't refuse him. Stand strong. If you are a true believer, don't back down. You don't need to defend yourself. That's going to be number 3. God has seen it all. You stand strong. You don't have to defend yourself when it comes to many different situations. Sometimes it's better to walk away. And that's not always easy, but I've even had to do it. And it's tough because I want to yell, but this and that, and it's just not worth it. I don't need to try to get someone else to see my worth. God already knows. He created me. He knows my worth. And if other people don't, that's okay. And most importantly, God's power is unimaginable, and he protects us every day in ways we didn't even know. There is spiritual warfare going on so bad right now. And if you are like me and you just have a position of calm, honestly, a year ago, 1.5 years ago, with everything that's happening in present moment, I would be having a breakdown. And I've just given everything to God. I have no control over what's happening in this world. The only thing I have control over is taking the time to read my Bible and thank God every single day for every single thing I have. All of you wonderful people that take time to watch my videos, I thank God daily that people take the time to even hear me read something that they could read themselves, or have even an app on your phone read it to you, but you still come to my channel. And I thank you, and I thank God for bringing you to my channel. So anyways, I should probably wrap this up. We are almost out of time. I want to thank you. obviously, for everything, for watching my videos, for sending me messages, checking out my Facebook, my Instagram, and I have TikTok. And I'm pretty sure I've added all of that to my YouTube channel. I'm still learning how to use TikTok, so please bear with me. Facebook and Instagram, I've had those for years, but I only started a TikTok just for this channel. So again, thank you all. I hope you have an amazing day, and I will be praying for everyone. Please comment, like, and subscribe.